7:38 here, Big 550 KTRS. David Stokes is with us. Normally, he's the policy analyst for the Show Me Institute, but no more. He got a new title. No new raise, but he got a job title. He is now the development director of the Show Me Institute. Good morning, David Stokes.
Good morning, McGraw.
So there was, at one point, was there not something that was racing through the legislature, a 2-cent increase on the gas tax in Missouri, right?
It was racing through. It had gotten through the House and through a Senate committee, and then it got to the Senate floor where it sort of stalled.
What happened?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's a group of state senators who are very strict on taxes and spending, and I agree with this group of state senators 98% of the time.
This is the 2% you don't agree.
This is the 2 cent / 2% where I might not. Right. I think it's time for the state to address at least the short-term transportation infrastructure needs via a small gas tax increase, a small user fee increase.
Right.
I think 2 cents is a great way to go about doing that. It will help buy the state time to have the conversation we need to keep having about tolling and adopting tolls to be what I think, and what Joe Miller, my colleague at Show Me Institute, thinks is really the long-term solution. But we need some short-term funding increases as well, and a 2 cent gas increase. I hope in these final 3 weeks of session we'll still make it through.
Yeah, so the argument is that they don't want to raise any taxes for any reason for anything, right?
Well, they did want to put it to a vote of the people as well.
Oh, okay.
And a tax increase this small is not required to go to a vote of the people.
Is the state of Missouri leaving federal dollars on the table because we're not raising our gas tax or using more money for roads?
It will.
Yeah.
It will. Now, I think MoDOT will overstate that at times, sort of, and perhaps claim a larger loss than realistic. But we are losing some federal gas tax money if we don't have the funds to match it.
Yeah.
And a little 2 cent increase with those matching funds will help meet the short-term needs for the next couple of years of MoDOT, help meet all of our infrastructure and transportation needs, and allow us again. I don't want to just keep increasing the gas tax. I want the state on I-70 and a decade from now I-44 to get serious about tolling, and any new bridges should, I think, be done primarily through tolling. But we're not suddenly going to become a state where everything's tolled. It takes a long time to get that infrastructure in place. So let's a small gas tax increase this year and maybe next year to pay for the things we need to pay for.
Since living out in St. Charles, which is newer roads, the infrastructure is newer, and then when I drive in the city, people don't realize how bad the roads are in the city and the county. I mean, I am shocked after driving in St. Charles for a while, and then I'm coming into the city of the county for whatever reason. I find myself thinking to myself, wow, these roads are really, really bad.
Well, it's one of the reasons we need to increase the gas tax. Some of that money from the gas tax goes back to cities and counties to invest in their own local roads by a formula.
Right.
So when we do that, we're not only talking about interstate highways that people who drive across the state use. That gas tax increase goes back to neighborhood roads as well, assuming they're public they're public roads.
Big yes, because the University City private roads don't get that money.
They don't. Or Central West End or Clayton. You get a lot in the St. Louis area.
All right, good. That's one. So we'll watch that 2 cent sales tax, which is stalled in the Senate. The other thing you wanted to touch on, David Stokes, is this legislative bill that's sort of, again, working its way through to cap the amount of ticket fees that a town can sort of impose on itself.
And that has made it out of both the House and the Senate. As usual, there's slight differences between the bills, so that's going to have to be reconciled in what's called a conference committee. Now, the differences between the two bills are not extreme. The Senate bill says 10% is all cities and counties can do in St. Louis. The House bill says 15% is all cities and counties can collect, and that would be the percent of total revenue by fines or citations.
Right.
And it's 20% for cities outside of St. Louis, 15% in. And if those numbers sound still too high, well, they may well be, but the current law is 30%, and that's poorly enforced as it is.
Right.
Lowering it, and then just as important, putting in these enforcement mechanisms that both bills have to enforce it, that's very important. And I just hope that some fight doesn't emerge in conference committee where they can't reach a compromise.
Right.
Because I think the people of Missouri demand this.
They're all in the same party. They have a veto-proof majority. They're all on the same team, if you will. So you would think that they could come to some compromise.
You would think, and to be clear, the governor, I think, has given every indication he will sign this reform.
Right.
So the veto-proof majority shouldn't come into play here.
Right.
Hopefully, get a majority that. Look, it passed the Senate unanimously, and it passed the House substantially. There are in the House some defenders of the municipal system who I think are just, in this case, out of whack. I mean, the municipalities have no sort of special rights to do as they wish. That is,
but I brought this up on Friday. So 15%, let's say that's the number that they're allowed to take, that money can go into the coffers. So you're drinking and driving, going through a municipal town, and they're already at 15% of the revenue taken. Are they not going to give you a ticket? Are they not going to arrest you? Are they not going to write you a ticket for jaywalking?
Well, I hope they don't on the jaywalking, but I certainly think they will and should on the DWI, because I don't think the average. Okay,
DWI is a bad example, but you're speeding or your taillight's out, and they've already at 15%. Are they going to let that person go, or are they going to write the ticket and then be over the 15%?
I would hope in cases of legitimate threat to the public. It's the difference between going 7 miles over the speed limit or somebody's going 27 miles over the speed limit.
Right.
If that city's already at the cap, let's say late in fall, early winter, and
right.
already got there, I would hope that those policemen, and I think the vast majority of them out in Missouri will be able to say, look, this is still an important safety violation. I need to enforce this 20 mile per over the speed limit ticket.
Right.
Write the ticket. Get the fine, get the points on the license, or however we do it in Missouri,
right?
And then yes, so that some of that money might have to then go to school districts instead of the city,
because that's the penalty, right?
Stop caring.
That's the penalty. The penalty is like Pine Lawn, which currently is like 48% of their budget is from these tickets. That the money generated over 15% would then go to the state, or how? What's the penalty here?
I believe, and I don't know exactly how the current bills may amend this,
right?
But right now it's supposed to go to the state to be distributed to school districts, as I understand it.
Right.
So it's not like if you're a speeder or a drunk driver or a serial jaywalker that you are going to get off and not have to pay the fine. It just goes to a different place. And I hope and think that most of the average peace officers out there are going to still try and enforce the law. And if at the same time it makes all the cities, the St. Anne's and the Pine Lawns of the world, and the Lynn Creeks out in mid-Missouri, where they're existing on ticket revenue, I hope that it makes the people and those public officials in those cities step back and seriously change the way they do business.
So Kinloch just hired or elected a mayor, had the mayor sworn in and impeached the mayor all within 30 days. 299 people in Kinloch, and I believe Kinloch still has their own police department, but like their website says it's down because they didn't pay the fee or something. So the argument goes, and as much as people think this bill will solve all of these problems, what's to stop Kinloch or Pine Lawn or any one of these towns then going out and saying, boy, you know what? That paint is peeling on your siding. That's a citation. You know, you have a shingle that is loose on your roof. That's a citation. Your mailbox is only 42 inches off the ground. It should be 47 inches off the ground. That's another citation. What's to stop these towns from nickel and diming and raising fees to sort of make up for the lost revenue of the tickets?
Well, hopefully, what is to stop them is that under the current system, you can target people who don't live in your city to fund your city abusively.
Right.
Under that scenario, which is entirely possible, you'll be targeting your own residents to do that, your own voters. And if you go too far, those same residents and voters, it's not too hard to rise up, get to 51% and say either elect new people to stop it entirely, to say we're gonna redo that. We're not gonna abuse people by lawn or quality of house citations now.
Right.
We're going to cut spending, cut the size of our own little tiny government further, and change that. And also, if it goes really bad, enough people will hopefully say, it's time to consider disincorporation or merging, as they did in St. George, as they ended up doing in Max Creek, which was the cause of this law in the first place.
Explain to me, because you've brought up Uplands Park numerous times here. Uplands Park voted. Some resident was upset with Uplands Park, so they put it on the ballot, and they got 53% of the vote. But they didn't get, 60% of the vote?
Right.
Why is it 60? Why do you have to get 60% of the vote to disincorporate?
Well, I don't know why when they passed that part of the, and I think it's probably in the Constitution,
Right.
when they passed that a long time ago. I don't know why they decided on it. There are certain major changes that do require supermajority votes at times. Bond issues in small elections, like June elections, often require
Right.
a 4/7 majority. So they just decided that 60% is the level to disincorporate a community. I think that's too high. I would like it to be 50% plus one. If it was just, you could still maintain a supermajority requirement and go down to that 4/7 bond issue
Right.
of 57% and change, and in which case it would have passed, I believe, in Uplands Park because they were at 57%.
Yeah, they were close to it, but they didn't get the 60.
Really close.
But it's also skewed when you only have 300 people voting. I mean, that's a very skewed 60%, though.
Right, and you get that city that, if they can get 40% of the residents to either be an elected official or a police officer or a relative of a city part-time employee.
Right.
I mean, you only need to keep 41% happy to at least prevent the disincorporation.
Right. So you have to keep 20 people happy.
Which is why I do think they should lower that supermajority requirement for disincorporation. I'd like to see that become a regular 50% plus one vote.
David Stokes, when can we read you? When can we see you?
We have a lot of information on gas taxes, tolling, and all these municipal tax issues at showmeinstitute.org. The people, in the end, it comes down to, elected officials got to do the responsible thing, and occasionally you have to raise taxes in this state. Even in Missouri, and even as the Show Me Institute doesn't like high taxes, it's time to do it, and this 2-cent gas tax increase is such a time.
It is 8:49:49 on April 27, 2015. David Stokes said sometimes you have to raise taxes.
Sometimes you do.
I just want to mark the tape and the time, ladies and gentlemen. David, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, McGraw.
8:50, Big 550.